Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 7th Williston Northampton School Hall of Fame Athletics Ceremony. It's great to see everybody here. As a lifelong teacher and coach before I became a head of school, it's a truism to say that there's a lot of learning that takes place outside of the classroom walls in the extracurricular, co-curricular life of a boarding school. And nowhere is that more true, I think, than in athletics. And the names we're going to honor today and the legendary coaches that will be mentioned exist here at the school now as well with our current athletes and our current coaches. It's so exciting to see this great tradition be perpetuated at Williston. So I'm not going to take any more time. I want to thank the selection committee co-chairs, Mark Conroy and Jay Grant, for all the work they've done in putting this together. I want to thank all of you for coming and give you a warm welcome. And now it's an honor and pleasure to turn it over to Athletic Director Mark Conroy.
What a beautiful day. Boy, how lucky are we? Thank you, Bob. We gather today to celebrate new inductees into Williston's Athletic Hall of Fame at the turn of what has been another terrific year for Williston Athletics. Before we turn our attention to this year's inductees, here's a small sampling of the many highlights of this past year. A boys soccer team that had its most wins in 19 years, including thrilling wins over Class A powers NMH and Loomis Chaffee. A girls hockey team that set a school record for wins in a season, going 22-2, including 12 shutouts, to earn the #1 ranking in New England prep hockey. A boys squash team that defeated teams from Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York City, and Buffalo to win the Division VI national title at the U.S. High School Squash Championships. An all-NEPSAC girls hockey player that became the 5th girl in our school's history to surpass 100 points. Boys and girls swim teams that continued their recent success of rewriting the school record books, breaking 7 more school records this winter. A boys basketball team that made its way all the way to the Class A championship for the 3rd time in 5 years. A 3-time MVP of girls basketball who became the 6th player in school history to surpass 1,000 points. And finally, a girls water polo team led by a senior who scored over 300 goals during her career that set a school record by going 15-2, making it all the way to the NEPSAC championship game. It is also worth noting that in a one-week span late this past winter, 3 recent graduates made a name for themselves in Williston on the national stage by being named College All-Americans. Springfield College junior Jake Ross was named a Division III All-American for the 2nd consecutive year. Bentley basketball player Ryan Richmond was named both a Division II All-American and an Academic All-American. Great for Ryan. And finally, Kenyan swimmer David Fitch broke a national record and was named the NCAA Division III Swimmer of the Year. Of course, any talk of Williston graduates succeeding on the national stage would not be complete without mentioning recent Harvard grad and sprinter and Olympic hopeful Gabby Thomas, class of 2015, who after being named an NCAA All-American 6 times, gave up her last year of eligibility to turn pro this past year. Gabby quickly made her mark on the international stage by running the fastest 100 meters recorded in the world this year. That's right. That's a big world. Pretty incredible. Additionally, I think it is worth noting that we have 22 members of the class of 2019 that signed national letters of intent to earn scholarships at Division I and II schools, at such schools as Boston College, Northeastern, Brown, Columbia, UConn, UMass, Holy Cross, and Bucknell. Certainly another testament to the strength of our program today. In short, it has been another tremendous year for the record books, which brings me back to the reason why we are all gathered here today, to celebrate some of the athletes who came before our current students and have left their marks on Williston athletic history. Let's turn our attention to this year's group of inductees. This year we'll be inducting 7 individuals and 2 teams into the Hall of Fame. Our first presenter will be a recent Williston graduate, 2-sport athlete, and class valedictorian, Robbie Hill. Come on down, Robbie.
Hello, my name is Robbie Hill, and it is my privilege to present George Tiger Craig for induction into the Hall of Fame. Graduating from Williston Academy in 1933, by all accounts, Tiger Craig was an accomplished and enthusiastic three-sport athlete, competing in football, basketball, and baseball during his 2 years at the academy. While his participation in athletics was certainly a significant part of his Williston experience, what made him legendary was his post-Williston athletic exploits, most notably on the basketball court. Many of you know that Williston holds annual alumni games in basketball and in hockey. Amazingly, Tiger Craig played in 54 alumni basketball games, right up through the age of 77. His two-handed set shot was the stuff of legends, where he would routinely put on exquisite shooting exhibitions at halftimes of many Williston games. He was called the sharpest shooter in the region by many who had a chance to watch him display this tremendous skill. Tiger holds the distinction of being the only person to have played a competitive basketball game in all three of Williston's gyms: the original gym for East Hampton High School, the old gym in what is now the Reed Campus Center, and, of course, the current Sabina Kane Family Athletic Center. In addition to his basketball exploits, he also competed regularly in the Senior Olympics every year at Springfield College, running the 100, 200, and 400, and competing in the long jump. At the ripe age of 84, he won 4 gold medals. A lifetime resident of East Hampton, he was a frequent spectator at Williston games, where his alma mater could always count on his enthusiastic support. I would like to invite Tiger's granddaughter, Miss Terry Goodrich, to the stage to accept his award.
I'd just like to thank the class of 2019, sorry, for inducting my grandfather. He loved Williston and he loved playing basketball. And the Craig family really appreciates this honor. And if my grandfather was here today, he would be over the moon happy. So thank you so much.
I think right now he is with us, but he's also still shooting those hoops up in heaven. Thank you.
Could I ask another recent Williston grad, varsity basketball and baseball player Aiden Burke, to please join us on stage to present the next inductee? Aiden.
My name is Aiden Burke, and it is my privilege to present David Raymond, class of 1959, for induction into the Hall of Fame. Dave Raymond arrived at Williston Academy in the fall of 1956, having been recruited by swim coach Wilmot Babcock out of Crosby High School in Waterbury, Connecticut. In addition to being an outstanding swimmer, he was also a terrific all-around athlete who also competed in soccer and baseball at Williston. Dave was a 2-sport captain and a 3-year starter in all 3 sports, a rare accomplishment during his era. In addition to his athletic exploits, Dave was a significant contributor to the school community, serving on the honor committee as a senior and being appointed as head waiter, a highly respected leadership position during the era of regular sit-down formal meals. Following his graduation, Dave headed off to Trinity College, where he continued to find great success in all 3 sports. He was a record-setting swimmer in the Trinity pool and a strong contributor to both soccer and baseball teams. His outstanding college career culminated with him winning Trinity's coveted blanket award for winning 9 letters in 3 sports. During his senior year, he capped off his college career by being named the winner of the George Sheldon McCook Trophy, given to the college's best male athlete. In the years that followed his graduation, Dave continued to serve Trinity well, earning the Alumni Medal for Excellence for his commitment to the college. In early adulthood, Dave entered the plastics industry and later formed his own company representing electronics and plastic manufacturers throughout New England. True to his nature, Dave stayed very involved in his community, founding a Boy Scout troop and serving as treasurer and senior warden of his church. Not surprisingly, Dave also remained a loyal and committed Williston alum, serving on the board of trustees for 5 years. He and his wife Barbara retired to Vermont a few years ago. I would like to invite Mr. David Raymond to the stage to accept his award.
Hold that a second. Awesome. Congratulations. Let me put this around your neck, Nick. Yep. There you go.
Thank you very much. Mark, Jay, Brownie, I know you were involved with this with my brother Donald. You know, when I guess we've heard a lot over this past weekend and many reunions, you know, you hear it a lot that, you know, Williston changed my life. Well, it did. When I came here from Waterbury, Connecticut, I didn't have a lot of very good prospects. After 3 years here, under the tutelage of so many gifted teachers and coaches, the Wilmont Babcocks, the Dan Carpenters, the Rick Francis, the teachers that we had here, Bordy, Happy, Lasone, Rouse, it goes on, and Couch, who came along later. Couch, I don't, you know, it's hard to think of him as one of our teachers because he wasn't a heck of a lot older than we were. So, you know, it was just, and to, you know, I've had a friendship with so many of these people all these years. It's just been great. And I'm so happy that Phil Stevens was able to come down. He and I splashed around in the pool against each other. He for Deerfield and me for Williston for 3 years. And so it was nice to see Phil today. But anyhow, thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to ask one of our rising seniors, Nick Hafey, to come to the stage. Nick was a standout varsity soccer, basketball, and baseball player this past year. Yes, 3 sport athletes still do exist. Come on up, Nick.
Good afternoon. My name is Nick Hafey, and I'm proud to have the honor of presenting Paul Stockwell, class of 1979, for induction into the Hall of Fame. Paul Stockwell entered Williston in the fall of 1976, where he quickly established himself as a force to be reckoned with on the athletic fields. Under Ray Brown's tutelage, Paul enjoyed a tremendous 3-year career in soccer, captaining the team as a senior and earning both WNEP-SSA Select Team and all New England honors each year. Instrumental in helping his teams win 2 Stewart Cup championships as a junior, Paul was named the 4th All-American in our school's history. Known as a crafty player, particularly adept at setting up his teammates, Paul finished his soccer career with 21 goals and 21 assists, one of the top assist marks in Williston's soccer history. In the spring, he was also a terrific lacrosse player, captaining the team as a senior and winning team MVP. His ability to set up his teammates served him well on the lacrosse field, as well as he set a school record his junior year with 26 assists. After graduating from Williston, Paul headed off to the University of South Carolina to play soccer, where, unfortunately, his career was cut short by an injury. Paul returned to his home in eastern Massachusetts, where he and his wife, Joanne, have raised their family. I would like to invite Mr. Paul Stockwell, class of 1979, to the stage to accept his award.
Can you hold this? I'll put the ribbon on. Let's take a quick picture.
Oh, this is tough for me. It's been a long time since I've been back on campus. Where did the 40 years go? Soccer was a big part of my life growing up. So when I came to Williston, I was happy to find a soccer program that was here. It was competitive and fun to be a part of. I played with a lot of great guys who I could also call my friends. I would like to thank Coach Ray Brown and Swanee for all they did for me. And thank you, Mr. Brown, for still saying nice things about me after all these years. As for lacrosse was a game I had never played before coming to Williston. I needed to pick a sport for the spring, and a lot of the guys from the soccer team played it. They talked me into giving it a try. I got a stick and never looked back. In time, I learned to love the sport. I would love to thank Vinny Labello for his passion for the game and knowing how to keep it fun. Lastly, I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame committee for considering me for this great honor. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Can I now ask my colleague, Associate Athletic Director Melissa Brousseau, to please join me on stage for the next presentation. Melissa?
Good afternoon. My name is Melissa Brousseau, and it is my great pleasure to present Lisa Lake, class of 1984, for induction into the Hall of Fame. Laker, as Lisa Lake is generally known, epitomized hard work, grit, focus, teamwork, leadership, and sportsmanship as a three-sport varsity athlete at Williston. A captain of soccer, basketball, and softball, she earned MVP honors in all three sports as a senior. In fact, she earned MVP for two of them as a junior as well. Not surprisingly, her teams enjoyed great success. During her senior year in soccer, her team finished the season with only 3 losses. A two-time MVP for Hall of Famer Ray Brown in the winter, her basketball team won 26 games during her junior and senior years. And in softball, under Hall of Famer Sue Curry Barnett, she led the team to a 10-2 season. At the conclusion of her senior year, it was not a surprise to anyone when she was awarded the Alumni Bowl given to the top senior female athlete in the school. Following her graduation from Williston, Laker headed off to Trinity College, where she continued to be a multi-sport athlete playing soccer and softball for 4 years. Her softball team at Trinity won the 1987 ECAC Division III championship. And 32 years later, Laker still holds the NCAA Division III doubles per game record. I know this because I did look it up. Again, I couldn't, it's there. That is a record, it's still there. Her athletic career did not end after college. 10 years after graduating, she picked up the sport of rugby. Amazingly, she was named to the USA national team that competed for the World Cup in Barcelona, Spain. Her rugby career also included being named to the Northeast Select All-Star team for 7 years and winning a national championship with the New York Rugby Club in 2006. Beyond her playing exploits, it's worth noting that Laker was instrumental in starting a youth rugby program in the Bronx with her wife, Annie Collier, that positively impacted the lives of many young girls in numerous ways. Lisa and her family have settled in the New York area, where they are raising their family. Could I ask Lisa Lake to please join us on stage to accept your award?
Hold this for a second. I'll put this on. There you go.
35 years later, right? Can you believe it? I have a long list of people to thank, and I'm going to try to remember everybody, but I would like to thank Coach Brown. You were just the best, Brownie. Thank you. Curl, I really appreciate all that you put up with from me, because it was quite a lot in those days. I'd like to thank Jay Grant, Mr. Francis. I have a list. I should probably pull it out. Leslie Harrison, who was also a coach. Swanee, of course. Bob Blanchette and Pickrell, who provided me with a lot of support despite me not playing lacrosse. and I appreciated that. And my teammates, everybody who's here today, I really appreciate you coming out. And this place meant everything to me. And when I had my career as a teacher and a coach and as a parent, I found myself replicating all of the ideals and the values that I learned here. Sportsmanship, the community culture where you look after your own, okay? You're gonna step out of line. My coach is like, what are you doing, Laker? Over there now. Do some wind sprints in the gym. Mop up the gym. Just do something to get back on track. But everybody had eyes on you and was so supportive here. And so when I was teaching, and especially in the Bronx, a lot of kids who had really not much in my school, and it was called Sports Professions High School with no sports, like nothing. And they looked at me, we didn't have a gym. They're like, but I want to play sports. I'm like, fine. We took a ball out in the middle of a parkway, cars going on either side. We started this amazing rugby program, and every step of the way, those kids benefited from the ideals that I learned here at Williston. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. I'd like to call up Derek Cunha to introduce the next inductee. Derek has been our head boys hockey coach for the past 13 years. Derek.
Good afternoon. My name is Derek Cunha, and I have the great privilege of presenting Brian McBride, class of 1984, for induction into the Hall of Fame. With a recommendation from West Point, Bryant McBride matriculated at Williston in the fall of 1983 as a postgraduate from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, Canada. As an athlete, it didn't take long for Bryant to make his mark at Williston. Blessed with tremendous skill and endurance, Bryant was an all-WNEPSA all-star midfielder for Coach Ray Brown on a soccer team that won or tied 12 of their 16 games. During the winter season, he was a standout on the ice for Coach Bob Shaw's hockey team, where he was known for his excellent two-way play and tough checking. Bryant won team MVP honors that winter, helping his team to the New England Prep Tournament. During the spring season, his strong athletic attributes transferred easily to the track, where he became a standout sprinter. After Williston, Bryant headed off to West Point, where he was recruited to play both soccer and hockey for the cadets. Unfortunately, his career was interrupted when he underwent reconstructive knee surgery due to an on-field soccer collision. During his year at West Point, it is worth noting that he became the first African American to serve as a class president. Realizing that a career as a military officer was not something he wanted to pursue, he transferred to Trinity College, where he enjoyed a tremendous career as both a student and as a hockey player. Bryant was an impact player for the Bantams, helping Trinity win 3 league championships while being named All-NESCAC as a senior. Following his graduation, to say that Bryant has continued to make his mark in the sports world would be an understatement. Here is just a sampling of his professional accomplishments. He held the position of Vice President of Business Development for the National Hockey League from 1991 to 2000. He has been a member of the New York Roadrunners board since 1992. He hired Willie O'Ree as the NHL ambassador in 1994, and he became a founding member of New York Run for Kids Foundation. He produced Willie, an award-winning documentary about the life of the first black NHL player, Willie O'Ree. Through a partnership with the NHL, Scotiabank, and JP Morgan Chase, this film will reach an audience of over 15 million over the next 2 years. In addition to his professional life, Bryant has remained very active, completing 26 marathons, including Boston and New York. Bryant now lives in Lexington, Massachusetts with his wife Tina and their 3 children. It is my great pleasure to invite Bryant McBride to the stage to accept this award.
Thank you. I got emotional during Lakers' speech, so I don't know what's going to happen now, but I'll do my best. I stand here with just a lot of gratitude. Like Lisa said, Williston means the world to me. I came here from Sault Ste. Marie not knowing if I was going to fit in, if I was going to get an opportunity to play, and I was just embraced. And embraced, first of all, by, I think you're like 6 for 6 now, Coach Brown. The best soccer coach I ever had. It's just that simple. It really was. More than his coaching, though, the conversations that we had in different parts of this campus between periods influenced me more than you'll ever know, Coach. So thank you. Bob Shaw, my hockey coach, was awesome as well, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Al Shaler. I think at the 25th reunion, I came back. He sees me and he says, McBride. He says, McBride, you haven't missed many meals. And he followed that with one of my favorite lines of his ever, when he said, he goes, yeah, you played hockey and you played soccer. He goes, no one played cross country. It's a great Al Shaler line. I just wanted to, much like Lisa said, I have to echo a couple of things. My life's work, a big chunk of my life's work has been helping kids get opportunity. And that's manifested itself through the work I'm doing with Willie O'Ree, the first black player in the NHL, the work that we did at the NHL to make the game more inclusive. But hockey's been the metaphor, and it's been the vehicle. The seeds for that inclusion, for that spirit that everyone deserves a chance to play, boys and girls, all backgrounds, all races. It came and it was planted, came from and it was planted here at Williston. I was here a year, but it was a year that was so instrumental in everything that I've been lucky enough and fortunate enough to do. I can't even begin to say thank you. And I'd be remiss, of course, if I didn't say thank you to my wife, Tina, to my son, Jake, my daughter, Mari, my daughter, Cleo. The ride would not have been possible without their amazing support. So thank you all.
I am honored to have the opportunity to present William Oken, class of 1984, for induction to the Hall of Fame. Unfortunately, Billy Oken couldn't be here today. Bill Oken followed his big brother Steve to Williston, arriving in the fall of 1981 as a sophomore. It didn't take long for the younger brother to make his mark, as Billy quickly established himself as a strong contributor to football, hockey, and baseball. He captained all 3 teams as a senior, playing for Rick Francis, Bob Shaw, and Dan Carpenter. During his 3 years in the football program, Williston won 18 games, including going undefeated in 1981. As a senior running back and linebacker, he ended the season near the top of the statistical charts in virtually every category imaginable, leading the team to a 7-1 record. He was awarded team MVP, as well as the Boyden Award, given to the top prep football scholar athlete in Western Massachusetts. During the winter, he helped lead the team to the postseason tournament while centering a line that averaged 3 goals a game. At the end of his senior year, Bill shared the Denman Bowl with fellow inductee Bryant McBride, given to the top boy athlete in the senior class. Following his graduation from Williston, Bill crossed the river to Amherst College, where he enjoyed a distinguished college career as a 4-year starter on both the football and the hockey teams, captaining both as a senior. Bill was also awarded the college's Top Scholar Athlete Award. Following his graduation from Amherst, Bill got his MBA at Duke. He now lives in New York with his wife, Andrea. As I said, unfortunately, Billy couldn't be here today, but he wanted me to share these remarks. I am truly honored to be inducted into the Williston Athletic Hall of Fame. My first thought when I was informed that I was happy to have played in the 80s when the competition wasn't so well conditioned and athletic. So I guess life is all about timing. Seriously, I was very lucky to have played with great teammates and for great coaches at such a wonderful school. While memories of specific seasons, games, and plays fade over time, my memories are crystal clear of the friendships I built and the good times I had because of Williston sports. It was a special time. Congratulations to all the other inductees today. I hope you have a blast at reunion. Thank you again for this honor. We do look forward to having Bill back on campus in the near future to present him personally. Next up is former Williston faculty member, associate AD, and athletic trainer Jay Grant to make a presentation. Jay?
Hello, everyone. It's my privilege to present Coach Archibald "Heppy" Hepworth for induction into the Hall of Fame. Archibald Hepworth worked at Williston from 1926 until his retirement in 1973, a 47-year run at the school. Heppy taught history, primarily U.S., European, and ancient, and occasionally Latin and German. He also served as the Dean of Students during the last 12 years of his career. His former students and players will tell you that he was a taskmaster, for whom no detail was irrelevant. But also his rapid-fire delivery. "Jeekers, young man, however did you think of that?" peppered with anecdotes and asides, could render his students helpless with laughter. Heppy wore many hats, among them that of coach. He coached for many years in the football, basketball, and tennis programs. While he was a very successful varsity coach in both basketball and tennis, he particularly enjoyed coaching the novice football team each fall, better known as the Canaries. Each fall, he melded the Canaries into a team of boys that learned to love the sport while also winning their share of their games. Heppy's son, David, was a Canary when he played for his father in the fall of 1941. Heppy was the varsity tennis coach from 1939 until 1971. His 1971 team finished with an undefeated season. After his retirement, Heppy lived on Park Street, was a regular attendee at Williston games. I enjoyed having Heppy and his bulldog as next-door neighbors when we lived in Manchester House in the mid-'80s. We are thrilled to have Heppy enter the Williston Athletic Hall of Fame. Accepting this award today for Heppy and his family is former Williston faculty member Jack Gow. Please join me in welcoming Doc Gow to the stage to share a few words about Heppy.
My name is Jack Gow. When we come to a crossroads in our lives, we're fortunate if we have somebody, some person, who is there at the right time, at the right place to give us some guidance. Heppy was that person for me. I'll start first with how he approached me after our first faculty meeting in 1969. I was still in a fog from everything as a new faculty member, and he comes up to me and, "You'll help me with your fall tennis program." Well, I didn't even know there was a fall tennis program. But he had recently initiated an instructional program for those, less than full steam athletes, boys who needed a life skill, and Heppy was going to provide it. On our first day of practice, Heppy was one of those people who knew everybody's name, and he seemed to know something about everybody. Again, I'm still clueless, but he introduces me, and we get to work. I could see immediately that Heppy was one of those people who treated students with an appealing combination of gruffness and humor, an expectation that they were going to be committed to their exercise, and yet understood that they had limitations. The students seemed to respond readily to this. After just a short time, he stepped back and let me do most of the instructing. I assumed he had 100 other things to do on campus, which he really did. But I think what he also wanted to do is put me to the test. Well, we had a lot of fun that season. I think the kids learned some tennis. I did not have my ankles bitten off by Spence the dog. And I think I passed the test because shortly after that practice, he said again in his gruff way, well, now you'll help me with a spring tennis varsity team. Okay. Come spring, it was obvious that the people who were trying out for the team all had a tremendous amount of respect for Heppy and wanted to play for him. He possessed those valuable coaching skills of understanding the intricacies of the game, but also the personalities and the abilities of each player so that he could make the most of their skills. He was a masterful coach, which showed in the successful season that we had that year. And as we just heard, the next year, with many of the same players, we had an undefeated season, and that was Heppy's finale. Well worth it, a wonderful season. The camaraderie of that group was very special, and they revered their coach without a doubt. One other observation I have from those 2 years of coaching with Heppy was the respect that he had earned from coaches of other teams when we played them. It happens that one of those other coaches was my father. Both of them were at their schools, my father at Westminster School and Heppy here, for 47 years. So they passed Cross an awful lot of times. Heppy was an exceptional individual in every way, a true master, educator, coach, and to me a mentor. I'm thrilled that he has been inducted into the Hall of Fame. But I want to come back to my original statement. I had a crossroads in 1969 when I was leaving research and looking at a teaching position. And during my interview here at school, I'm sure I met Heppy, but again, that day was a blur and I don't really remember. But soon after that visit, I received an offer for the job, which I accepted readily and enthusiastically. And I thought later on, how did that happen so fast? I suspect Heppy made the connection between my father, who he had coached with for 3 or 4 decades, and this young whippersnapper, Jack. And he said to the headmaster, hire Jack. For me, he was the right person at the right time, and I'm certainly honored today to step in on his behalf. Thank you.
And to recognize the first of 2 teams that will be inducted into the Hall of Fame, I'd like to call up Williston lacrosse captain Kevin Talbot to the stage. Kevin, come on up.
Good afternoon. My name is Kevin Talbot, and I am proud to present the undefeated 1964 boys varsity lacrosse team for induction into the Hall of Fame. To say that the 1964 boys lacrosse team had a season for the ages would be an understatement. Led by the inspirational leadership of Coach Frank Dorsey, the team managed to go undefeated, finishing the season with a record of 12-0. Amongst the many highlights of this special season were big wins over Taft, Loomis, St. Mark's, Choate, and Mount Herman. The season finished with a huge win over the lacrosse powerhouse of that time, Kingswood. The team was led by 12 returning lettermen, including Tuck Cantrell and Stephen Durant, who were both all New England selections in 1963. Among the new faces were Carter Hunt on defense, Carl Stevens, Ed Green, Cliff Starrett, and Bob Foster at midfield. The team benefited from the fact that lacrosse was growing in popularity and attracted a strong group of the school's best athletes. Offensively, the team was led by a duo of co-captains Paul Doty and Stephen Durant. Durant became the top midfield scorer in all of Prep New England. The skilled and ever-dangerous Doty led a potent attack, finishing with 28 goals and 44 points to earn all New England selection. The team outscored their opponents 90-31 on the season, which is an average of 9-2. The team's undefeated season earned them the Masters League championship. It was indeed a magical year for lacrosse at Williston Academy. Will Coach Frank Dorsey and all team members present please join us on stage to receive your awards.
Gentlemen, can I ask you to just stand right up front of the, it'll be great.
These are my remarks. The first item is, why are we dressed this way? And what we used to do was board the Blue Dart and show up at some foreign campus and come off in our Bermuda shorts and blazers, and there would be giggles and laughs. And after we kicked their ass, we got a lot more respect. The other question, the burning question, is how in the world does a team go undefeated? Well, it starts with the parents of the players, some of whom gave them some really good talents, and some of whom gave lesser talents. I won't distinguish between these guys. We also had parent support. We had invented tailgating, essentially, for the lacrosse team, and we had a lot of parent support there. There's a long history of lacrosse. George Buell started it a few years before we played. The guys, some guys are still here from previous years, built a good, strong tradition, so it was easy to coach these guys because we had good examples. We also had cooperation from the administration, but they weren't always aware of it. Some of you will remember Howie, the equipment guy, who stole Bab's new soccer jerseys for the lacrosse team, and we appreciated that. We have two volunteer coaches who helped me, Newell Doty, Paul's brother, and Griff Griffin, and I wouldn't have been able to do any of what I did without them paying particular attention to particular groups of the defense or the offense. We did have some stars, and we had stars right up the middle. Goalie, Tuck Cantrell, defenseman Robert Montgomery, who has some family here today. Steve Durant at midfield, he's already in the Hall of Fame for a variety of reasons, and Paul Doty at attack for a variety of reasons. But we also had lots of bit players, and I don't mean small bit players, important bit players who contributed, who major contributions. So what put together this undefeated season was this incredible group of guys. Thank you.
So I get to stand up here a bit. So, Frank, I like to think of lacrosse back in the 60s as Disneyland. It was this magical, mysterious game. You have to understand, it's played all over the country now, but back then it was pretty much Baltimore, Long Island, a little bit of upstate New York. And Frank, he was like the keys to Disneyland for me and all us guys, right? And we got to play this sport that was so, I'm getting emotional again. That was so much fun, and it's been a big part of my life. And we all want to give it a stick. So this says Frank Dorsey. Thanks so much. So, have you got it? So this is Puppy Dog Gould. He's in the Hall of Fame for the undefeated football team and lacrosse team, and he's got something he wants to say.
They didn't put my name in the program. It's P-U-P, just in case you want autographs later. I wrote this poem for two of the most important men in my life. One of whom is standing left to me, and my college coach, who is departed, but R. Bruce Allison is in 9 halls of fame, and Doris has always been in my hall of fame. I was a miserable 8th grader, totally depressed and miserable. I earned my nickname by following my brother around so much because I was so depressed until I touched a lacrosse stick. So it is in Doris's honor that I wrote this poem. We know how it started. You knew sticks, shaped by roots, fashioned by grain, each as different as the seed that bore it. Wood, leather, gut. You knew how to string them, how to tie them together, what parts to tighten, what parts to loose. Wood, leather, gut. You knew how to use them, how to catch and hold, fake and throw, the sense of where to be. Wood, leather, gut. And now here you are surrounded by a forest of sticks, still strung together, forever entwined with you.
And to present our final team for induction, can I ask veteran Williston coach Jen Fulcher to please join me on stage. Jen?
Hello, my name is Jen Fulcher, and I'm proud to present the 2003 girls varsity soccer team for induction into the Hall of Fame. Led by head coach Jeff Pilgrim and assistant Caitlin McCabe, the 2003 NIPSAC champion Williston girls soccer team was certainly one for the ages. The team's championship marked a steady progression for a senior-laden team in which they finished runner-up in 2001, were co-champions in 2002, before winning it outright in 2003. Led by captains Katie Coffey, Rachel Kozera, and Daniel Winicky, the team won or tied 17 of their 19 contests, playing arguably one of the most challenging schedules in all of New England, and this included 9 shutouts. In addition to defeating top prep programs from Andover, Deerfield, and Kent, the team also defeated college JV teams from Springfield and Williams. The team's excellent regular season earned them a #1 seed in the NEPSAC Class B tournament. Spurred on by enthusiastic home crowds out at Galbraith Fields, the girls won an exciting 1-0 quarterfinal victory over a stubborn Worcester Academy team, and then defeated ISL Power Thayer Academy 4-2 to advance to the final versus Tabor Academy. Late in the first half, senior Katie Coffey converted her 16th goal of the season. This proved to be the difference, as the defense played extremely well and the team held on to win 1-0. Not surprisingly, a number of school records were broken and several team members garnered postseason honors. Senior goalkeeper Devin Collins set 3 records for career shutouts, saves, and goals against average. Senior Ellie Molyneux earned all Western New England and scored 2 goals in the All-Star game. Seniors Daniel Winnicky and Amanda Chuda both earned all Western New England and all state. Danielle set the record for career assists. Senior Katie Coffey capped off her marvelous career by becoming the first girl to be named an All-American in school history and earning Player of the Year honors in the state of Massachusetts. Katie's school records include most goals in a season and a career. It was a remarkable season, to say the least. Will Coach Jeff Pilgrim and all members of the team present please join us on stage to receive your awards.
All right, so I was trying to figure out what to say today, and I thought I'd go back through some records and look at some information I had saved over the years for inspiration. And I came across a poem written by John Katzenbach. John is the father of Justine Katzenbach, who unfortunately can't be here because priorities, she's on her honeymoon. But I thought it was an appropriate poem, and since the lacrosse team had a poem, we're going to have a poem too. All right, so without further ado, an ode to the 2003 Williston girls varsity soccer team by John Katzenbach with heartfelt apologies to Dr. Seuss. Now, of soccer we sing, and although it sounds silly, we come here to celebrate a team from Old Willie. From freshmen and seniors throughout the long fall, they've run up and down in chase of the ball. That rotund sphere with all the stitch panels, in heat and in rain and in weather best suited in flannels. They've met with all comers, pretenders and worse, beaten most, tied some, which has prompted this verse. Best forget, of course, because at the start it might doom us if we were so bad-spirited and rude to mention Loomis. No, it's success that we dwell on and hope that will yield some laughs, some memories, and a mention of Deerfield. Because it's the players whose accomplishments we note, which might be a moment to recall a game against Choate. A tie, 0-0, rats, much like a sisterly kiss, which now that I think of it, was the same with Hotchkiss. But Andover Kent and the Williams JV all fell beneath the tide of the team from Willie. And many others as well felt the sting of defeat from Pill's running gals and their powerful feet. With Miss McCabe at her side, the games were won, and advice was dispersed like, please find someone. So let us raise a glass and toast with good cheer the girls' varsity soccer team, the squad without fear. First goalies we praise, who stop all those shots, wearing big gloves and exotic jerseys that make them seem hot. Hooray, Devin! Hooray, Amanda! Without you we're lost, though defenders might grumble. Who made you the boss? And speaking of defense, rock solid and mean, let's have a big cheer for Sarah, Stacy, and Justine. And let us not neglect Stacia, Sam, and Katie V, whose play was a wonder for all the sidelines to see. And Rachel, too, was a part of the crew, though sometimes it seemed she had little to do. So up the pitch she would run as quick as she can and to join in and play with the midfielding band. The middle's the engine, and although it seems messy, order was imposed by Danielle, Kelly, and Jesse. And others helped out, I kid you not really, like Lee, Britt, Casey, and let's not forget Neely. But success would not come easy, and goals must be scored, so congrats to Kim, Solana, Chelsea, who never seemed bored. And Vanessa ran hard, and the fast-moving Kate Z, who always, it seemed, remembered to look up and see if Katie was running or even limping around, and passed her the ball as goalward she was bound. But if Katie went to the sideline, hurt a no-show, thank the stars there was faith in fast Ellie Molyneux. So there you have it, the girls on this championship side, and for the girls who've watched, it's been quite a ride. Thank you very much.
Well, that concludes our Hall of Fame ceremony. What a terrific day for Willis, and congratulations to all the inductees.